On Mars or not, life goes on. Thank you, Arcady. Frank's jaw was clenched. I came here to get away from that kind of thing. Arcady shook his head. You certainly did not. This is your life, Frank. What would you do without it? One night, shortly before descent, they gathered and had a formal dinner for the entire 100. Most of the food was farm-grown. Pasta, salad, and bread, with red wine from storage, saved for a special occasion. Over a dessert of strawberries, Arcady floated up to propose a toast. Arcady, King of Phobos. No. Arcady floated up to propose a toast. To the new world we now create. A chorus of groans and cheers. By now, they all knew what he meant. Phyllis threw down a strawberry and said, Look, Arcady, this settlement is a scientific station. Your ideas are irrelevant to it. Maybe in 50 or 100 years. But for now, it's going to be like the stations in Antarctica. That's true, Arcady said. But in fact, Antarctic stations are very political. Most of them were built so that the countries that built them would have a say in the revision of the Antarctic Treaty, which was made by a very political process. So you see, you cannot just stick your head in the sand, crying, I'm a scientist, I'm a scientist. He put a hand to his forehead in the universal mocking gesture of the prima donna. I'm a scientist, I'm a scientist. No. When you say that, you are only saying, I do not wish to think about this complex system. I do not wish to think about complex systems. Which is not really truly worthy of a scientist, is it? The Antarctic is governed by a treaty because no one lives there, except scientific stations, Maya said irritably. To have their final dinner, their last moment of freedom, disrupted like this. True, Arcady said. But think of the result. In Antarctica, no one can own land. No one country or organization can exploit the continent's natural resources without the consent of every other country. No one can claim to own those resources or take them and sell them to other people so that some profit from them while others pay for their use. Don't you see how radically different that is from the way the rest of the world is run? And this is the last area of Earth to be organized, to be given a set of laws. It represents what all governments working together feels instinctively is fair. Revealed on land free from claims of sovereignty or really from any history at all. It is, to say it plainly, Earth's best attempt to create just property laws. Do you see? This is the way the entire world should be run. If only we could free it from the straitjacket of history. Sax Russell, blinking mildly, said, "But Arcady, since Mars is going to be ruled by a treaty based on the old Antarctic one, what are you objecting to? The Outer Space Treaty states that no country can claim land on Mars. No military activities are allowed, and all bases are open to inspection by any country. Also, no Martian resources can become the property of a single nation. The UN is supposed to establish an international regime to govern any mining or any other exploitation. If anything is ever done along that line, which I doubt will happen, then it is going to be shared among the nations of the world." He turned a palm upward. "Isn't that what you're agitating for? Already achieved?" "It's a start," Arcady said. "But there are aspects of the treaty you haven't mentioned. Bases built on Mars will belong to the countries that build them, for instance. We will be building American and Russian bases, according to the provision of the law. And that puts us right back in the nightmare of Terran law and Terran history. Americans and Russian businesses will have the right to exploit Mars as long as the profits are somehow shared by all the nations signing the treaty. This may only involve some sort of percentage paid to the UN. In effect, no more than a bribe. I don't believe we should acknowledge these provisions for even a moment." Silence followed this remark. Anne Claiborne said, "This treaty also says we have to take measures to prevent the disruption of planetary environments. I think that's how they put it. It's in Article 7. That seems to me to expressly forbid the terraforming that so many of you are talking about." "I say that we should ignore those provisions as well," Arcady said quickly. "Our own well-being depends on ignoring it." This view was more popular than his others, and several people said so. "But if you're willing to disregard one article," Arcady pointed out, "you should be willing to disregard the rest, right?" There was an uncomfortable pause. "All of these changes will happen inevitably," Saxe Russell said with a shrug. "Being on Mars will change us in an evolutionary way." Arcady shook his head vehemently, causing him to spin a little in the air over the table. "No, no, no. History is not evolution. It is a false analogy. Evolution is a matter of environment and chance, acting over millions of years. But history is a matter of environment and choice, acting within lifetimes, and sometimes within years or months or days. History is Lamarckian. So if we choose to establish certain institutions on Mars, there they will be. And if we choose others, there they will be." A wave of his hand encompassed them all. The people seated at the tables, the people floating among the vines. I say we should make those choices ourselves. rather than having them made for us by people back on Earth. By people long dead, really. Phyllis said sharply, "You want some kind of communal utopia, and it's not possible. I should think Russian history would have taught you something about that." "It has," Arcady said. "Now I put to use what it has taught me." Advocating an ill-fomented revolution? Advocating an ill-defined revolution? Fomenting a crisis situation? Getting everyone upset and at odds with each other? A lot of people nodded at this, but Arcady waved them away. "I decline to accept blame for everyone's problems at this point in the trip." He's so sassy. Okay. "I decline to accept blame for everyone's problems at this point in the trip. I have only said what I think, which is my right. If I make some of you uncomfortable, that is your problem. It is because you don't like the implications of what I say, but can't find grounds to deny them. Some of us can't understand what you say," Mary exclaimed. "I say only this," Arcady said, staring at her bug-eyed. I hit my glasses. "Mary, some of us can't understand what you say," Mary exclaimed. "I say only this," Arcady exclaimed. I fucked it up. "I say only this," Arcady said, staring at her bug-eyed. "We have come to Mars for good. We are going to make not only our homes and our food, but also our water and the very air we breathe, all on a planet that has none of these things. We can do this because we have technology to manipulate matter right down to the molecular level. This is an extraordinary ability. Think of it. And yet some of us here can accept transforming the entire physical reality of this planet without doing a single thing to change ourselves or the way we live. To be 21st century scientists on Mars, in fact, but at the same time living within the 19th century social systems based on 17th century ideologies. It's absurd. It's crazy. It's He seized his head in his hands, tugged at his hair, roared. "It's unscientific!" And so I say that among all the many things we transform on Mars, ourselves and our social reality should be among them. We must terraform not only Mars, but ourselves. But our shelves. I'm going to imagine that was a typo and you really tried to quote the book. It's beautiful. We should terraform not only Mars, but ourselves. You got it? You good? I try. Group hugs in the shower tonight, boys. I'm doing my part. No one ventured a rebuttal to that. Arcady at full throttle. was pretty much No one offered a rebuttal to that. Arcady at full throttle was pretty much unopposable. And a lot of them were genuinely provoked by what he had said and needed time to think. Others were simply disgruntled, but unwilling to cause too much of a fuss at this particular dinner, which was supposed to be a celebration. It was easier to roll one's eyes and drink to the toast. To Mars! To Mars! To Mars. But as they floated around after finishing dessert, Phyllis was disdainful. Phyllis was disdainful. First, we have to survive, she said. With dissension like this, how good will our chances be? Michelle Duval tried to reassure her. A lot of these disagreements are symptoms of the flight. Once on Mars, we'll pull together. And we have more than just what we brought on the Ares to help us. We'll have what the unmanned landers have brought already, the shipments of equipment. There's food all over the surface and the moons. And that's there for us. The only limit will be our own stamina. And this voyage is part of that. It's a kind of preparation, a test. If we fail this part, we won't even get to try on Mars. Exactly my point, Phyllis said. We are failing in this. Sax stood, looking bored, and pushed off toward the kitchen. The hall was filled with the seashell roar of many small discussions, many of them acrimonious in tone. A lot of people were very angry at Arcady, clearly, and others were angry at them for getting upset. Failure is another great city. I want to live in failure. Awesome. That's so cute. No exit mentioned. Failure. Living in the city. Failure. Acrimonious. That's a good name for a city too. Acrimonious would be a beautiful name for a girl. Many were angry at Arcady, clearly, and others were angry at them for getting upset. Maya followed Sax into the kitchen. Maya and Sax. Russell. As he cleaned his tray, he sighed. People are so emotional. Sometimes it seems like I'm stuck in an endless performance of the play No Exit. That's the one where they can't get out of the little room? He nodded. Where hell is other people. I hope we don't prove the hypothesis. That's the one with no exit. Right. I hope we don't prove the hypothesis. A few days later, the landers were ready. They would descend over a period of 5 days. Only the Phobos team would stay in what was left of the Ares, guiding it to its near docking with the little moon. Arcady, Alex, Dimitri, Roger, Samantha, Edvard, Janet, Raul, Marina, Tatiana, and Elena said their farewells. absorbed already in the task at hand, promising to descend as soon as the Phobos station was built. The night before the descent, Maya couldn't sleep. Eventually, she gave up trying and pulled herself through the rooms and corridors up to the hub. Every object was sharp-edged with sleeplessness and adrenaline, and every familiarity of the ship was countered or overwhelmed by some alteration. A lashed-down stack of boxes, or a dead end in a tube. It was as if they had already left the Ares. She looked around at it one last time, drained of emotion. Then she pulled herself through the tight locks into the landing vehicle she had been assigned to. Might as well wait there. She climbed into her spacesuit, feeling, as she so often did when the real moment came, that she was only going through another simulation. She wondered if she would ever escape that feeling. If being on Mars would be enough to end it. It would be worth it just for that. To make her feel real for once. She settled into her chair. A few sleepless hours later, she was joined by Sax, Vlad, Nadia, and Anne. Her companions belted in, and they ran through the checkout together. Toggles were flipped, there was a countdown, and their rockets fired. The lander drifted away from the Ares. Its rockets fired again. They fell towards the planet. They hit the top of the atmosphere, and their single trapezoidal window became a blaze of Mars-colored air. Maya, vibrating with the craft, stared up at it. She felt tense and unhappy, focused backward rather than forward, thinking of everyone still on the Ares. And it seemed to her they had failed. That they had failed. That the 5 of them in the lander were leaving behind a group in disarray. Their best chance for creating some kind of concord had passed. And they had not succeeded. The momentary flash of happiness that she had felt while brushing her teeth had been just that, a flash. She had failed then. They were going their separate ways, splintered by their beliefs, and even after two separate years of forced togetherness, of enforced togetherness, they were, like any other human group, no more than a collection of strangers. The die was cast. Part 3. The Crucible. Next week on Monday Book Club. I forgot how my camera works. Okay. Anonymous. I thought I wanted to move to Mars, but actually Phobos is the place to be. Literally, dude. I can't wait. I need to talk to Arcady about getting a place on Phobos. Thank you very much for listening. Cheerio.